그날 말씀 묵상 영한입, 육한입. 오늘의 1분 리뷰. 남은 한 달 동안 아침에 운동을 하면서 묵상을 하지만 조금 더 말씀을 읽고 싶어서 그날 말씀 묵상 영한입, 육한입. 오늘 구절은 요한복음 14장 6절 말씀, 그리고 이사야 42장 1절 말씀, 히브리서 3장 1절에서 3절 말씀이에요. 요한복음 14장 6절 말씀. 예수께서 이르시되 내가 곧 길이요 진리요 생명이니 나로 말미암지 않고는 아버지께로 올 자가 없느니라. 이렇게 하고 영한입 했죠. 육한입. 이사야 42장 1절 말씀. 내가 붙든 나의 종 내 마음에 기뻐하는 자 곧 내가 택한 사람을 보라. 내가 나의 영을 그에게 주었은즉 그가 이방의 정의를 베풀리라. 영한입, 육한입. 히브리서 3장 1절에서 3절 말씀. 그러므로 함께 하늘의 부르심을 받은 거룩한 형제들아, 우리가 믿는 도리의 사도이시며 대제사장이시며 예수를 깊이 생각하라. 그는 자기를 세우신 이에게 신실하시기를 모세가 하나님의 온 집에서 한 것 것과 같이 하셨으니 그는 모세보다 더욱 영광을 받을 만한 것이 마치 집 지은 자가 그 집보다 더욱 존귀함 같으니라. 아멘. 이렇게 영화님, 육화님을 남은 한 달 동안 이렇게 할 거예요.
And I'm hoping to spend the rest of the quarter here in Kona to get a lot of time with many of you. Sometimes when people have conversations with one another, they have misunderstandings. Sometimes the reason they have a misunderstanding is they're using the same words but mean two different things by those words. So sometimes when you use a word, you need to ask, well, what do you mean by that word? I grew up in Bolivia and Peru in South America. Grew up speaking Spanish and English. My mom and dad were missionaries. They're in the high Andes Mountains. I live 13,500 feet above sea level, 4,300 meters, like the top of Mauna Kea. My parents worked among an unreached people group called the Aymara. And when I was growing up, I remember one day, our house emptied into a public market area. No cars on this street. There are stalls of merchandise on both sidewalks and down the middle of the street. It was the center of trade, like 3 blocks that way and 5 blocks that way. There was this street filled with like a constant market day. And as I was going out of the house, there was this lady who was selling her wares at little stalls. She had to get up and go somewhere to get something. She was going to leave her stall for about 3 or 4 minutes. She had her 3 or 4-year-old son with her. And I just happened to be walking by when she said this to him. I'm going away for just a few minutes. Don't you dare move from here. Stay here, because if you don't, God will see you and God will get you. And you could see the look of fear in the little child's eyes. I was in middle school at that time, and I was even a little bit afraid how she spoke about God. But that's not the God I know. That's not the God that I've learned about from my mom and dad. He's not a God out to get you. This child is going to grow up with a distorted image. But when he grows up, he's going to think of God like a mean ogre, maybe hunchbacked, with bad breath, puffs of hair growing out of his ears, big crooked nose with a wart on the end of it, hair growing out of the wart, and he's got a club behind his back, and if you disobey him, BAM! 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 And this kid is going to never want to have fellowship with this ogre-like God. My wonderful wife, Christine, you can stand. We've been married for 7 months and we moved to Chile. 14 years pioneering YWAM. During the time we were there with others who joined us, we saw 14 YWAM bases planted in Chile, 12 outside of Chile in the 1040 window. Primary school and middle school and high school, prison ministry and halfway home for people coming out of jail, and on and on. We began always with evangelism. Those early days we'd go out on the streets 2 or 3 times a week. We'd preach the gospel. I remember one day, a lot of people in Chile have a concept of God. You say, do you believe in God? I mean, it's idiocy to not believe in God. Think that we came from an accident of nature over billions of years. That takes a lot more faith than believing in an intelligent, loving being who made us in his image and likeness. So a lot of people believe in God. They say he exists. They don't have a relationship with God. They can't point to a way how that belief has changed their life. So I started saying this. And I said, do you believe in God? And they're like, where do you go from there? So this is how I started my evangelism. I said, do you believe in the moon? They look at me really weird, like, what do you mean? You believe that the moon is real, it exists. They think it was some kind of trick question. And then I would say, well, how did believing in the moon change your life? How are you living differently because of that belief? They said, well, I never thought about the moon changing my life. And then I said, do you believe in God? The action happened. And I remember one day, I said to the person, do you believe in God? And they said, no. I've been there for a long time. Everyone said, yes, no. Straight face on the outside. But on the inside, I went, yes! And I get a real pagan. And I say, well, why don't you believe in God? And he began to describe for me the God in which he doesn't believe. Because God is cruel and unjust, causes children to die of illnesses when they're not, have not.
All of them outside of the Ohana Court, okay? Now, if you're with Apostello, get ready. That's going to be the next goal. Apostello, over here, please. Then we're going to go with the Bible core course. If you can follow Raymond over here.
AI is carving out its identity and livelihood. Expensive, irrelevant educational institutions are crumbling. There's no going back. So what could take the next generations forward? Decades ahead of its time, the University of the Nations co-founder Howard Malmsted pioneered modular education.
We want to have a future awareness.
It opened up life-changing learning in focused learning weeks where professionals give up-to-date insight in their fields, rather than students multitasking all their classes with only one professor who may not have experience beyond the classroom. Each U of N course offers more hours with more experts on subjects students choose. 3-month modular courses and shorter seminars are available in the colleges of the University of the Nations. And U of N's global network of missionary training campuses in 130 plus nations provide education in YWAM's Christ-centered Christian missions communities. In this unique learning space, U of N students can grow in faith, wisdom, and skill. Focused, hands-on, Christ-centered learning to prepare young hearts to transform nations.
All right, because especially if this was a brown or dark background, you wouldn't see the contour of her head. You would only see light. It's going to be right here for now. I'm going to go up a little further with this guy. On about a 45-degree angle. And that's it. I really want to shove this over a little bit and get a little farther there. But then we've got one more light. Can we kill the main house lights? In a 3-point lighting setup, you would also have one more light for the background. So in this case, you know what I would actually do is I would intentionally make it do a gradient. Use an iPhone, but that doesn't mean it's a bad camera, you guys. The camera that's in your pocket is always the best one, right? Or at least the camera that you have on you. But take a look at this. If anyone can get close enough, it would not use it for filmmaking. There are some filmmakers that exclusively shoot with natural light and will not film at night, and they will not use lights. But I don't necessarily advocate for that, but there could be an argument made. You can see some of the posters of our previous projects. The OMT, oral mother tongue film with Uncle Lauren. That's a movie that does not exist yet. Post-production meaning after you shoot.
대학교는 소시지가
괜찮아요? 뽀드득 소시지 아니죠? 맛있다. 괜찮네. 오늘의 1분 리뷰. 오늘의 1분 리뷰는 지금 BTC에 와 있는데 금요일에 청강을 들어갔어요. 그 크리에이티브 미디어 코스에. 그래서 어떻게 영상을 만드는지, 또 어떤 과정으로 커리큘럼이 준비되어 있는지에 대해서 봤고, 그 다음에 좀 억티티도 수월수월하게 했고, 지금 이 시간이 좀 좋은 것 같아요. 이제 우리의 서로 신뢰의 관계나 이런 거에 대해서 좀 얘기하는 시간을 가지고 있고, 그리고 이 시간 너무 좋은 시간인 것 같아요. 굿나잇.